weeks ago, the rule is game. I'm the boss here, I'll take fame. With my fantasy team, gonna rise to the top, no one can stop me. Gonna make 'em drop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. Doesn't it feel like we just spoke yesterday? The games are coming thick and fast, and this is a place where people start to lose focus and control of their fantasy teams. And this is where some people start to give up. So I just want to ask you to remain vigilant and try to stay on top of your fantasy team. I would say the best way to do this is to make your team pretty much almost during the game week or immediately after. With an average of 58 points this week, it is clear that this wasn't as strong a game week as last week. I, for one, got 61 from 102 last week. I couldn't even get to enjoy my achievement for a week. It was just a day, just Monday, and then Tuesday we were back. I would have done better if I had captained Salah, but I went for Palmer. I'm happy I could have captained Saka, How was your game week? So, Manchester City finally won a game. Congratulations to them. 3-0. And if you watch that game, you know that Wood could have scored at least one goal. A lot of us Brentford standers were a little bit disappointed when Bumo continues to do nothing and Misa went blank. Everton surprised many of us by defeating Wolves 4-0, and this is the second time in a row that Wolves have conceded 4. I'm not sure if Gary O'Neill will make it past Christmas. So for all of us who had Stan Larsen, Cunha, Aït-Nouri, guys, get off Aït-Nouri, I told you. A bunch of us had Brighton assets that were beaten, and Baleba wasn't the one who scored. Fulham won 3-1. Bournemouth beat Spurs 1-0, and a lot of us were hoping for some Solanke, Son, Brennan Johnson miracle. But having watched that game, they were never threatening to do anything. It was a 1-0 thrashing. Chelsea beat Southampton 5-1. That was expected. We just thought Palmer would be more involved in that game. And then, even worse still, Maresca decided to do Pep Roulette. And so for us, and not me, but those of you who own Nicholas Jackson, that was it. Arsenal versus Manchester United. Arsenal win 2-0. Gabriel not playing. Why? It's because he got punched in the face by Fabianski, and I think it was a concussion protocol break. And the game just came one day, too quick for his possible return. I thought West Ham Leicester would be an easy game for West Ham. Oh boy, was I wrong. We barely had one day of practice, and they beat them 3-1. The new manager bounce is real. There were 5 clean sheets this game week, so defense did well this game week, which is probably why we did nothing. The top scoring game of the weekend. So Southampton conceded 5 goals and Chelsea conceded 1. 5-1 was the score. I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. Southampton are trying to play a style of football that they cannot execute at this level. They made so many mistakes. This game without mistakes could have probably been 2-1 or 3-1. But they were just championship, trying to force their style at their Premier League level. They will continue to see results like this if they continue doing this. Disasi opened the scoring for Chelsea. Then Aribo scored to make it 1-1. And I guess they thought there'd be hope. But Nkunku scored. Then Madueke. Then Palmer and Sancho. Enzo Fernandez continues to be a productive player. He had an assist. Gusto had a good assist. Madueke had an assist. Nkunku and Joao Felix had the other assists. Kyle Walker-Peters had the assist for Southampton. Madueke and Nkunku had the bonus points, 3-3, and Aribo had 1. There was another high-scoring game, and this was arguably the most thrilling game of the weekend. It saw Liverpool take on Newcastle, and the game ended 3-3. To be honest, I think in this game, Isak scored the goal of the weekend. Beautiful, powerful shot. Loves to rifle them in. So he opened the scoring. And then Jones got the equalizer. Gordon took them ahead. Then Salah scored 2 goals. I mean, Salah is just magic this season. They should just give him this contract already. And so they're leading 3-2. And at the dying end of the game, a Newcastle player is fouled. There's a free kick. Across. Kelleher comes to get the ball, but then he decides to leave it for whatever reason. So he leaves it, and at that corner of the post, there's Mr. Shah. He slides in with a tackle and he sort of tackles the ball in. That was a preventable goal, but 3-3 it ended. Salah naturally got 3 bonus points. Isak got 2, and Gordon got 1. The marquee game of the weekend saw Arsenal take on Manchester United. The game ended 2-0 in favor of Arsenal. In my view, the real difference between these two teams was their ability at taking set pieces. It felt like Arsenal would score at every set piece they had, especially from the corners. I had a lot of my Manchester United friends being shocked and asking me, why are Arsenal so dangerous at these corners? I'm like, haven't you been watching them? It's like, no, I hate Arsenal. And I'm like, yeah, they've been doing this for like a whole calendar year, if not more. They're like, oh. They're like, yeah, they're the most dangerous team from set pieces right now. Even Babatov was calling them the modern Stoke. Honestly, from set pieces alone, they could have won this game 3 or 4-0. In open play, both teams struggled to create, and without set pieces, the game would have probably ended 0-0. I was telling even one of my friends, just be thankful Gabriel wasn't there. He would have probably had 1 or 2 goals. Timber and Saliba scored, and it seems like Arsenal are back. 2 clean sheets in a row. The defenders are doing the business. Saliba had 3 bonus points. Timber had 2. Rice had 1. The usual suspects from the midfield going up underperformed a bit. Only Rice and Partey were the performers of the Arsenal midfield this time around. Saliba got 3 bonus points. Timber got 2. Rice got 1. When it comes to the biggest disappointment of the week, I really can't decide whether it is Leicester 3, West Ham 1, or Tottenham 0, Bournemouth 1. I think I'll give it to Bournemouth 1, Tottenham 0, only because in recent memory, Spurs beat Manchester City 4-0. This result is emblematic of their whole season. They have a great result and then they underachieve. In this game, you wouldn't even have known that they beat Manchester City. They were second best and it was not even close. 1-0 is very generous. This was a 1-0 thrashing. I also think the manager's lost faith in Son because he's now using him like he's 50 years old. Very sparingly and very randomly. At the first episode of this podcast for this season, I told you guys about Dean Huijsen, who was the young centre-back that Bournemouth had signed from Juventus. And I had said that he has potential to be a great defender. Well, he started and he scored from the corner. A good header, there's nothing they can do about it. I think Bournemouth are the second best team at set pieces in the Premier League right now. Tavernier had the assist. I know a bunch of people came in with Kluivert this week. He had a good chance, but he couldn't put it away. Evan Nilsson had a goal disallowed. They were so dominant in this game. Anyway, Huijsen got the 3 bonus points. Kirkes got 2 and Kepa got 1. So the defense was king. Another honorable mention for disappointment is Fulham 3, Brighton 1. Let's look at the biggest point getters this game week. In goal, Kepa was a top performer with 7 points, tied with Henderson and Ortega from Man City. The number 4 and 5 was a tie between Pickford and Raya. Both had 6. In defense, we had 3 players getting 15. Saliba, Huijsen, and Ashley Young, 15 points. Timber from Arsenal got 14, and Mykolenko rounds up the top 5 with 11. Midfield was king again, and I will read everybody who got above 10 points. Salah was a top performer with 18 points. Iwobi had 15. El Khanous had 14. De Bruyne had 14 as well. Madueke, Nkunku, and Doku had 13 points. In attack, Watkins had 12 points, Isak had 11, Matata had 8, Patson Daka had 7, and Fulkrug had 6. Welcome back to Daka and Fulkrug. They've been out for a time. Let's go over some stats from the recently concluded game week. For only his second time in his Premier League appearances, Mr. Alex Iwobi has scored twice in a match. This is his second time. The first was in December 2023, so it's recently also. At 19 and 235 days, Huijsen is the first ever teenager to score for Bournemouth in the Premier League. He is the youngest player whose first Premier League goal came against Tottenham, since Phil Foden did it at 18 years and 327 days in April 2019. Chelsea are performing well and they have the youngest team in the Premier League. Can you win anything with kids? We'll find out. With Salah's goals and his assist, he is now the only player to have 37 goal and assist involvements in the Premier League. He has eclipsed Wayne Rooney. He's a record breaker and a record setter and a pace setter at the same time. Well done to the Egyptian king. Remember I told you about Arsenal's dominance from the set piece? Well, they had more shots from corners than they did against open play. They had 7 shots from corners and 6 from open play. This was coincidentally the first time Manchester United had conceded 2 goals from corners since 2014. Chelsea have scored 57 goals in 22 matches in all competitions this season. This is their best goals per game ratio in a single season in their entire history. Well done. Arsenal have scored more goals from corners than any other side in the Premier League since the start of last season, 21 goals. And the 2 players with the most assists from set plays are Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka. So if you don't have money and you're looking for a cheap way into Arsenal, Declan Rice is an option. Chelsea's XG, expected goals, versus Southampton was 5.29, and it is the most Opta has on record since 2008-2009 by an away team. At 39 years and 148 days, Ashley Young is now the 4th oldest scorer in the Premier League to score from a direct free kick. You know, every time I talk about the Pep Roulette, and let me just give you an interesting stat. Manchester City have made more changes to their starting lineup than any other Premier League team this season, 37, making 3+ changes in 7 consecutive league games within the same season for the first time since 2021. Versus West Ham, Leicester had 8 shots. 7 of them were defined as big chances. They are only the second side on record from 2010 to have 7+ big chances from fewer than 10 shots in the Premier League game, after West Ham versus Newcastle in December 2018. So they were very purposeful in their attacks. On the other end of that, there are 3 occasions on record since 03-04 of a team having 20 shots in the first half of the Premier League without scoring, and all 3 have come against Leicester. Liverpool in December of 2015, Crystal Palace in 2023, and West Ham versus Leicester. So they created chances, they were just useless. Before the game against Forest, Manchester City had never gone 3 games without scoring, and I guess that record still stands. Excluding penalties, Wolves have conceded the most goals from set pieces so far, with 13. The second is Southampton with 8, and Manchester United 6 in 3rd place. Arsenal and West Ham round up the top 5 with 5 conceded chances from set pieces. Brentford have played 8 away games this season. They've lost 7 out of 8. The other one being a draw, so they're very poor away from home. They're kind of like Newcastle last season. Leicester have only gotten 1 clean sheet in the last 19 home matches. Everton won 4-0. This was their biggest home win under Sean Dyche. Liverpool have not been beaten away from home all season. Only Liverpool have a better home defensive record than Bournemouth. In 7 wins against Newcastle, Liverpool have come from behind 5 times. Isak has scored 13 goals in his last 14 home games at St. James's Park. The most selected player this game week was Mo Salah. The most captained was Haaland. Most vice-captained was Salah. The top transfers in this game week are Saka with 150,000, followed by Salah with 140,000, Isak with 110,000, Watkins 105,000, Saliba with 96,000. Most transfers out, heading the list is Mr. Mbeumo, 224,000, Haaland 166,000, Konate 130,000, Emil Smith-Rowe 106,000, and Luis Diaz 90,000. The highest points this game week was 132. The average was 58. So if you got above 58, well done. You're doing well. The guy who got 132 points had Pickford in goal, who gave him 6. Then he had Vardiol, who gave him 6. And also, if you watch that game, Vardiol could have had a hat-trick. Mikolenko had 11. Saliba had 15. Ake had 6. Gordon had 8. Rogers had 8. Salah had 36. Nkunku had 13. Watkins had 12. And Isak had 11. Everybody performed in his team. Well done to you, sir. In our table, manager Dejan Savesky, manager of Hajduk Vatnica, got 91 points. He was the highest person on our group. At the back, he had Pickford, who gave him 6, Gay, who gave him 6, Pedro Porro, who gave him 1, Saliba gave him 15. And the most interesting thing about this is that Saliba and Gay, who came on from the bench, gave him 21 points. Anyway, moving on. He had McNeil, who gave him 9, Suchek, who gave him 2, Madueke, who gave him 13, Palmer, who gave him 14, Haaland, who gave him 5, Watkins, who gave him 12, and Mateta, who gave him 8. He was starting Howard Bellis and Van de Ven instead of Guehi and Saliba. Very lucky. The top 5 point getters in our league table. Number 2 was Classic 11, managed by 49 Invincibles. They got 90 points. Black Adam, manager of Tyrone, got 88. Simnani Jua, manager of Who Has Eyes to Xerxes, had 87. And number 5 was Otio Monde, manager of Team Odu, had 86. Being our top points getter, saw him become our overall rank riser, rising 1.3 million positions. Dejan Savesky, well done. Keep it going. Derek Mwangi, manager of Yogo FC, has climbed most ranks this week. He has jumped 36 positions. Well done to you, sir. Omar Gilio, manager of Ajab FC, has jumped 35, along with manager Brian Black Adam, manager of Tyrone. Clinton Oku, manager of Bazook, jumped 33 positions, and Malvin Wele jumped 30 positions. Bonaji, manager of Pepe Kali, has added 0.9 to his team value. Continue. Suraj Baigane has seen his team's value rise to 104.4. Wow, that's crazy. This week, we see manager Boaz Ogala, manager of Katambe, make the most transfers, not Don Clinton. He made 9. Don Clinton made a humble 5 transfers this week. Maybe he's settling down now. Salah was the most popular captain choice in our group, with 88 people choosing him as captain. Number 2 was Palmer, with 61 people choosing him as captain. Number 3 was Haaland, with 48 people choosing him as captain. That's interesting. That's the most, I don't want to say even, but the most even it has been in terms of captain spread. We are breaking free of our thoughts, and we are more wild, or at least we're trying to be. 17 people captained Saka, 8 people captained Nicholas Jackson. I hope you all had good vice captains. 3 people captained Cunha. Sorry to you. Solanke was captained by 3 as well. Polisana. Havertz was captained by 2. Bowen 1. Isak 1. Well done to you. Rashford 1. Nah. Hoyland still 1. I guess this guy's just quit fantasy. Bruno Fernandes 1. KDB. I guess if you just leave your team, you will perform sometimes. And Misa 1. Wam Kimko, manager of Kim Chuxi, has had a streak of green arrows for 10 weeks in a row now. Keep it up. DJ Notice, manager of Not Nice FC, has a team with 6 different goal scorers. Well done to you, sir. Now for the not so good stuff. Terence Nigel, manager of One Hida FC, dropped 1.2 million in rank globally. Sobovic FC has dropped 36 places this week in our league ranking. The least points was Terence Nigel, manager of One Head FC. Global rank, least points, it all adds up, I guess. In goal, he had Pickford, who had 6, Robertson 1, Olaina 1, Pedro Porro 1, Guardiola 6. Then he had Saka, who was his captain. Hey! 6 points, Mbumo 2, Bowen 2, Martinelli 3, Luis Diaz 1, Wood 2. And I'm sure a bunch of you Saka captainers are the ones who didn't make your teams. 31 being our lowest ranker is not bad. It's been worse before. Lowest team value is Rocker FC, managed by Noel Ritchie with 97.9. Worst team value falls to Prabin GC, manager of Pardil GFC, dropped 0.7. Manager Don Pedro had a mighty 20 points on the bench, and Don Pedro got 79 points, so this is particularly painful. They would have had 99 points. They had João Pedro and Mikolenko on the bench. So those are 16 points he could have used. The other 4, which make the 20, are Flecken 3 and Hall 1. He wouldn't have used those. You know how I said Don Clinton made a few transfers this week? Well, relatively speaking, by his standards. Well, those few transfers he made him the most disappointing transfer outcome manager this week. If he had just kept his team from last week, he would have had 20 more points than he did. And he didn't do badly. He got about 60 points. So he would have had about 80 points should he have left his team from last week. Other managers who didn't do well: Richard Madegwa, Dennis Alubiri, Smacha Cham, and Arnold Midunga, losing 14, 13, 12, and 12 from the transfers they made. They were better off having done nothing. And it's no surprise now, but for the 13th week in a row, Don Clinton has been getting the most red arrows. He's our number 1 king. And finally, looking at our table, Walker Dead maintains their lead. It's come down from 10 to just 2. He got 62. Texas Tens retains their number 2 position. Got 70 points. He has 930 points. So just 2 behind number 1. Der Schmetterling holds on to number 3 with 908 points. And then at number 4, we have a new person there. Duboy Original, manager of Duboy FPL, 79 points, 908. John Mongemi, Recess Set Pieces, 76, 906. Franklin Asiema dropped to number 6, 65 points, 904. Udu, managed by Otiomondi, 86, 902 points. Arnold Midunga keeps dropping, 66 points, 890 points. Lawyer Malik, Abdul Malik Alawadi, got 73 points, got 886. MK, manager of Turn Up, got 57 points and has dropped to number 10. They have 886 points. In the top 10, 6 of the managers had Palmer. Everybody who rose had Salah as their captain. And the only other person was Saka. So Salah, Palmer, Saka were the most popular captains for the top 10 in our table. So between number 1 and number 10, it is 46 points. Between number 1 and number 2 is 2 points. Between number 2 and number 3, it's 22 points. Number 3 and number 4 are tied with 908. Between number 4 and number 5 is 2 points. Between number 5 and number 6 is 2 points. Between number 6 and number 7 is 2 points. Between number 7 and number 8 is 12 points. Between number 8 and number 9 is 4 points. And between number 10 and number 11 is 4 points. At the bottom of our table, we have Don Clinton holding it strong with 285 points. The Tinkerer. Second last, we have Duncan Anzigare, 59 points, 524 points. He's the one who managed to have KDB as captain. but he has just set and left his team. Just above him is Freddie Fariz, 550 points, Mark Yorche, 562 points, and Patrick Kaiser, 563 points. It's kind of tight at the bottom in that from number 220 to 236, it's about 100 points. So if you're on that end of the table, just 2-3 game weeks and you can find yourself moving up the table. The game week this time starts on Saturday, and kicking us off will be the Merseyside derby between Everton and Liverpool. This will see me captain Salah once again. McAllister is injured for Liverpool. Suspended. Becker, Bradley, Jota, Chiesa, Konate, and Tsimikas are all unavailable for this game. For Everton, Ghana, Robonam, and Chermiti are unavailable. Looking at their head-to-head, their last encounter, Everton beat Liverpool 2-0 when playing at home. So when they're playing at home, so could there be a disappointment this time around? I don't think so. But anyway, so out of the last 5 games, Liverpool have won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. They are favourites. And they're the best team in Europe right now, honestly. Beating Real Madrid, Man City, Manchester United within 10 days, that's impressive. As long as they remain consistent, this should be theirs to win. Everton have scored 4 goals in the last 5 matches, but they've scored 4 in the last game. So they really haven't been scoring. They were impressive last time against Wolves, and they will be encouraged entering this fixture. Liverpool drew 3-3 with Newcastle, and they will also be looking to correct their mistakes from the last fixture. It's just like I said the last time out. If you're investing in Everton, it's really only their defense. Going forward, it's tough. They were pretty fortunate in this game. I don't think Ashley Young will have a good game because some younger, quicker winger will really destroy him. If you're choosing a Liverpool player, you know you have to start with Salah, then Gakpo, then your choice of defender. Trent came on to have 2 assists. So I would say he's their best defender right now. Konate is out, so maybe there's room for Joe Gomez, but Joe Gomez was awful. So Joe Gomez and maybe Ouattara if you're looking to be cheap. But I don't think Gomez will start after his display the last time out. So from Everton, whoever your defensive choices are, that's who you choose. But this is not a game for defense. Aston Villa take on Southampton. This should be a good game for Morgan Rogers and Watkin holders. Southampton are trying to play a particular brand of football. To be fair to them, last time out, they were depleted. They had too many players missing from suspension and injury. Having said that, Stevens got suspended for the red card for pulling Kukureya down. Ramsdale is unavailable. Lanana, Bazunu, Bednarek, Onwachu, Stewart, and Smallbone all out. Ramsey and Onana are out, or rather doubtful, for Aston Villa. So just 2 versus 8. Southampton are not in great form. Aston Villa had been in poor form up until they got that 3-0 victory, or rather 3-1 victory over Brentford. I would say in this game you have Morgan Rogers, Watkins, and maybe Solly March. From Southampton, I don't know why you'd be choosing one, but maybe Arubo, Fernandes, and Dibling. Brentford versus Newcastle. Now, the thing about Brentford is that they're really good at home, but they're really poor away. Newcastle are the same. They're really good at home and really poor away. You had me read the stat that Isak has scored 13 in 14 games at St. James's Park. His record is nowhere near as impressive away from home. So I wouldn't be getting into Isak for this fixture. If I was looking for a striker, I would look for Watkins instead. Having said that, if you're getting Brentford players right now, I would say start with Damsgaard. He's 5.0. Just look at his points over the last 3 game weeks. He is sneaky good. So it's Damsgaard, and then you have Wissa, and then Bumo, probably in that order. And then a random defender if you want to get into their defense. Now, on the Newcastle front, having just talked shit about Mr. Isak, he is still their best player. Him, then maybe Gordon, and then Bruno Guimaraes. And If you're looking for a defender, you can't go wrong with Burn or Schär. Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. Both teams came off good victories, and they'll be hoping to continue. Manchester City seem to have recovered. They looked good. You couldn't have known that they were the same team that lost 5 in a row. But was that a fluke? Was it the kind of game like West Ham beating Newcastle 2-0 and then they'll just revert to their old ways? So this is the kind of game which will tell us who Man City are. And they're playing Crystal Palace, who are a team that have been recently tough to beat, and they will be looking to do something. When looking at unavailable players, Riyad, Franca and Wharton are unavailable for Crystal Palace. Stones, Kovacic, Bob, Foden and Rodri are unavailable for City. If you're choosing players from City, you know it starts with KDB, then you have Haaland, and then you have Silva. Vardiol was so impressive the last time out. If you have him in your team, keep him. He could have had a hat-trick, honestly. He just finished like a defender. On the other end, I would suggest you have Mateta, Eze, and Gay if you wanted to get a defender. But since many people won't be getting a defender, just Mateta and Eze. Manchester United versus Forest. The thing about Forest is that they're having a good season, but they also haven't really beaten anybody good apart from Liverpool. And I think they will be beaten by Manchester United. So to that end, I wouldn't encourage you to have any Nottingham Forest defenders, but would miss a really good chance. I don't think you'll be so generous in this game this time round. And you can have your choice of Morgan Gibbs-White or Elanga. If you still want a defender, Murillo is their best, or Aina, whichever one tickles your fancy. Manchester United was shown that they're just not as good as Arsenal. They did challenge, but they just weren't as good. Their best players right now are Amad Diallo, Fernandes, and Rashford, and pick the one that suits your budget. I could also see them getting a clean sheet in this game. So if you have their defenders, why not? Fulham and Arsenal play each other this weekend. Both teams came off impressive victories, Arsenal over Manchester United and Fulham over Brighton. Iwobi will be looking to continue his recent run of goal-scoring form. He'll be looking to score one or at least one goal against Arsenal. He is a top player I'd recommend from their team. Last time they met, Arsenal were beaten by Fulham, and Raul Jimenez and Bobby Reid were the scorers. In their recent 5 fixtures, there have been 2 draws, 2 wins for Arsenal and 1 win for Fulham. In their last 5 encounters, there's only been 1 clean sheet. With Arsenal, you know there are 2 ways to go. Defense heavy or attack heavy. If you're looking defense heavy, you have to go Raya. I'm not sure if Gabriel will be back. As I look at the people unavailable for Arsenal, Ben White, Gabriel, Calafiori, Tomiyasu, all defenders, are doubtful and injured to some extent. Kearney is suspended, Reid is unavailable, and Anderson is injured for Fulham. This is not the kind of game I would encourage you to get into either team's defense, but if you already have their defenders, stay with them. So if you have your Ben Leno and your Robinson, stay with them. So from the attack, I would just say Iwobi is looking good for Fulham right now. He's a man in form. And literally, he would be the only person I would encourage you to get in this team. But since I have to recommend more, I would say start with Iwobi, Emil Smith-Rowe, and then Raul Jimenez. For Arsenal, Odegaard, Saka, Rice. Ipswich take on Bournemouth. Bournemouth beat Tottenham last time out. They were really impressive. They should have had more than 1-0. Ipswich lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace. They weren't as impressive as they were against Forest. They still seem to be on the cusp of a victory, but never really quite getting there. They're at home, they haven't yet won a home game. Honestly, they're just a competitive team that doesn't just cross the line. Bournemouth, on the other end, can beat absolutely anybody. Looking at unavailable players, Scott, Araujo, and Sinisterra are out for Bournemouth. Tuanzebe, Ogbene, Slicker, and Hurst are unavailable for Ipswich. If you're looking to get Ipswich players, Delap is the first player I would recommend. Smotsic, and probably Leif Davis. But Omari Hutchinson, definitely ahead of Leif Davis. If you're looking to get into Bournemouth, Semenyo, Kluivert, Evan Nielsen in whichever particular order. And if you're looking to get into the defense, Kerkez, I would say Den Huysen, but when Senesi is chosen, Senesi plays ahead of him. Senesi is their preferred centre-back. So I'd say Kerkez. Zabarani was exposed in this game, so maybe he will be out. And maybe Senesi will play with Huysen. Who knows? I want to see if Huysen can get 2 or 3 matches in a row before I pick him. Leicester take on Brighton, and new manager bounces in effect. I honestly didn't expect them to beat West Ham, but here we are. So from Leicester, they're going to play Brighton. Brighton were not good last time out, and they were beaten by Fulham. I honestly think Brighton are the better team, but you can never really take the new manager bounce for granted. So because of that, I'm going to say Vardy, El Khanous, and Bonanote are the best bets. From Leicester. From Brighton, João Pedro, Baleba, Mitoma. I don't expect this game to have clean sheets, so I wouldn't encourage any defenders. But if you have them, that's your choice. Tottenham versus Chelsea. This is the marquee game of the weekend. A London derby. Now, the thing with Tottenham is that on their day, they can beat absolutely anybody, and Chelsea are anybody. The problem is, those days are unknown in advance. Beat Man City, lose to Bournemouth, lose to Crystal Palace, lose to Ipswich. You just don't know what you're going to get with Tottenham. But should anything good happen from them, Maddison, Kulusevski, and Brennan Johnson will be involved. And those are the first 3 I'd recommend. He's doing something weird with Son right now, and I don't know what's going to happen. You could choose Solanke, but there's just something that he hasn't quite figured out yet. He seems to be getting there, but he just hasn't gotten there yet. On the Chelsea end, Palmer, I'm sure that Mr. Jackson will play, Nicholas Jackson will play this one. And Madueke. Those are the 3 I'd recommend. If you're gambling with Nkunku, I wouldn't blame you for gambling. Maresca has reached the Pep roulette stage of his career, so things may be coming a bit unpredictable from now henceforth. When it's time to look at unavailable players, for Chelsea, you only have 2 missing, Reece James and Fofana. This is the healthiest they have been in a while. For Spurs, you have Bentancur out, Romero, Vicario, Van der Ven, Moore, Richarlison, and Odegaard. So quite a few misses. Their recent head-to-head has Chelsea winning 1, 2, 3, drawing 1 and losing 1. So I would still give Chelsea the edge, but I wouldn't call them outright favorites because Tottenham are unpredictable. The final game of the week, we'll see West Ham take on Wolves on Monday. Both teams were horrible last time out. Wolves being hammered by Everton. Imagine being hammered by Everton. That's embarrassing. West Ham were just beaten handily, although they did create more chances than they had previously done. So this is a game which is a perfect pick-me-up for both managers. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these managers is sacked after this game. Their head-to-head has no draws. It has West Ham winning 3 times and Wolves winning twice. This game has a strong possibility for a clean sheet for either side. So that means for either side, I would recommend, for example, for West Ham, Emerson or Wan-Bissaka. And then if you have Bowen, he would be a good bet. Fulkrug scored, so he might be back and he might change things for them moving forward. Kudus might play, but not yet. It's really tough to pick a West Ham player. So I would say, yeah, get your Fabianski and your Emerson and your Wan-Bissaka. That's it. And Bowen, Jared Bowen, that's about it. For Wolves, it's still Cunha, it's still Strand Larsen, and that's it. That's it. If you still have an itinerary, maybe keep him for this game and then move him for the next one, because there's a possibility of a clean sheet in this game, but that's about it. Alvarez is suspended for West Ham, and Todibo is out. For Wolves, Maypew is out, Traore, Gonzalez, Kalacic, and Mosquera are still out. So I guess the most important thing now is figuring out captain choices. So, first game, Everton versus Liverpool. Easy peasy Salah. Aston Villa versus Southampton. Really, Watkins is the best choice here. Brentford versus Newcastle, who I would go with the home team here. So, Wisa or Damsgaard. Crystal Palace versus City. I think you have KDB, you have Haaland, of course, and you have Mateta. Manu versus Forest. You could try Wood, but I wouldn't encourage it. And then you could go with Rashford or Ahmad or Fernandes. One of those three will deliver, if not all of them. Fulham versus Arsenal. If you wanted to be cheeky, you could go for a defender. But Saka is a safe choice. Bournemouth versus Ipswich. If Ipswich do anything, it'll be Delap or Smotrich. And Bournemouth, it's really hard to know because everybody performs. It could be Evan Nilsson, it could be Kluivert, it could be Semenyo. Leicester versus Brighton. I wouldn't really be looking for a captain here. Spurs versus Chelsea. Palmer or Madueke would be good. Probably Nicholas Jackson as well. West Ham versus Wolves. Cunha or Strand Larsen. But if you have Salah in your team or Watkins, those are the easier fixtures. As there's such a short turnaround this time round, I will not do the FDR this week, but I will do it next week. So I hope your week has gone well, and I hope you have a great weekend coming up. Bye.